I'd like to talk for a few moments about SeedLegals Flex, what it is, how to get the best use and advantage out of it. So SeedLegals Flex allows you to prepay to raise up to a certain amount in any combination of SeedFASTs, instant investments, or funding rounds at no additional cost. So the trade-off is you buying up front, but then you're going to save later. So let's take a step back and firstly talk about Agile fundraising. So once upon a time, and you've probably heard this from me before, people used to do a funding round, but finding all the investors to get on the bus and go together is very hard work. You might think you'd need to raise £500,000, but that means raising at a 3 million valuation. And time and again at SeedLegals, we and I particularly hear that a founder wishes to raise, a funding round. We explain that actually before the funding round, if you find individual investors, you can get them on board right now. Maybe you meet someone at an event, and instead of saying, come back in 4 months' time when I do my funding round, you can say, can I send you a SeedFAST now? So the pattern we see is that the majority of fundraising is no longer in a funding round, it's before and after a round. And when it comes to raising before a round, you might be raising in increments of 10 or 20,000 pounds from investors using SeedFASTs. But what we're seeing is a growing number of founders raising from large numbers of small investors. So there's one, for example, that has a retail business, and they must have done 200 SeedFASTs so far for anywhere from £500, £1,000, £2,000 upwards, and they've raised hundreds of thousands of pounds that way. But if you're buying lots of individual SeedFASTs, there's a floor price at SeedLegals of £100 per SeedFAST. So if you're raising for less than £10,000 per SeedFAST, you're actually better off buying Flex, where there's no minimum. So what this founder, in fact, did is buy £100,000 worth of Flex for the grand total of £1,000, and then can raise any number of SeedFASTs. So if you're raising, £500 or £1,000 at a time, your cost per SeedFAST agreement is like £5 or £10. It's insane. It's the fastest and cheapest way to raise investment. Now, obviously, if you're raising at £500 or £1,000 per investor, that's a lot of investors. But if you've got a retail business, if you've got customers, if you can reach them online or they're coming to your store, then that is an efficient way of doing it. So where the first benefit where SeedLegals Flex helps you is if you're raising from lots of small investors before a round, typically with SeedFASTs. The other way it helps you is if you're doing a larger funding round. So our pricing model is, 1% of the first £500,000 raised, then 0.5% to £1 million, 0.2% and 0.1% after that. But if you were to raise, let's say, £1 million, and you're thinking of doing a funding round and then topping up afterwards, you can prepay all of that, buy Flex for raising £1 million, pay the lowest marginal rate essentially on the delta, complete the funding round, and then top up at no additional cost with any number of instant investments. And we see a growing number of companies using that as well. And here, the way you would do it is, ahead of your funding round, you'd think, okay, I'm planning to raise £1 million. I'm pretty confident I'm going to do that in a few months. It's worthwhile prepaying and buying Flex. So I'll buy £1 million of Flex. And then in the funding round, you'll set the funding round to say you're raising whatever you're going to raise in the round, let's say £500,000. And then in the instant investment top-up section in the round, you'll say, I'd like to be able to raise up to another £500,000 or even maybe £1 million, and now set the period in which you can raise it at, I'd say, at least 12 months ahead. Some founders think they're optimistic. I'm going to do it in 6 months. But the instant investment terms in a funding round are giving the investors and shareholders, they're giving you permission now to let you top up later without preemption rights if you select that and without additional consent rights. So if you get these rights to let you top up later, you can do that with very little friction. So if you use SeedLegals Flex to buy £1 million, set up the round for 500k raising now, 500k of instant investment top up anytime in the next, let's say, 12 months, you might even make it 18 months, then you're all set to top up afterwards at essentially zero cost afterwards. Now, of course, the trade-off with Flex is you prepaying. So you might think, well, I don't have any money right now. The good news is there's nothing to prevent you raising as normal. So if you're looking to raise, £10,000, you might just buy a seed fast individually, and remembering that the first seed fast you get is or instant investment up to £10,000 is now built into SeedLegals Plus. So for a Plus subscriber, you get the first 10K free on us. But after that, buying Flex, it gives you the upfront benefit, but don't have the money, no problem. Just buy a la carte, pay as you go. Remember, if you're on Plus, you can start your funding round at no cost, and you then pay only on completion when you've got the funds. So whichever way you'd like to go that makes most sense for you, Flex is there to help you. Hope that helps. Reach out to our team if you need any help, need any questions answered on Flex, or in fact anything on your funding round. Thanks.